You are basically made of the same ingredients as a chair, as a stone, a head of lettuce, a bird. In a gigantic cooperative endeavor, all consciousness joined together to make the forms that you perceive. Now, because this is known to us, we can change our environments and our physical forms as we wish and without confusion, for we perceive the reality that lies beneath. We also realize that the permanency of form is an illusion, since all consciousness must be in a state of change. We can be, in your terms, in several places at once, because we realize the true mobility of consciousness. Now, whenever you think emotionally of another person, you send out a counterpart of yourself beneath the intensity of matter, but a definite form. This form, projecting outward from your own consciousness, completely escapes your egotistical attention. When I think emotionally of someone else, I do the same thing, except that a portion of my consciousness is within the image and can communicate. Environments are primarily mental creations of consciousness thrust out into many forms. I have a 14th century study, my favorite, with which I am very pleased, for example. In your physical terms, it does not exist, and I know quite well it is my mental production. Yet I enjoy it, and often take physical form in order to sit at the desk and look out the window at the countryside. Now, you do the same thing when you sit in your living room, but you do not realize what you are doing, and presently, you are somewhat restricted. When my associates and I meet, we often translate each other's thoughts into various shapes and forms out of pure enjoyment in the practice. We have what you might call a game demanding some expertise, where, for our own amusement, we see which of us can translate any given thought into the most numerous forms. There are subtle qualities affecting the nature of all thought, such emotional gradations that no one is ever identical. And incidentally, no physical object in your system is an exact duplicate of any other. The atoms and molecules that compose it, any object, have their own identities that color and qualify any object that they form. You accept and perceive and focus on continuities and similarities as you perceive physical objects of any kind. And in a very important manner, you shut out and ignore dissimilarities out of a given field of actuality. Therefore, you are very highly discriminating, accepting certain qualities and ignoring others. Your bodies not only change completely every 7 years, for example, they change constantly with each breath. Within the flesh, atoms and molecules constantly die and are replaced. The hormones are in a constant state of motion and alteration. Electromagnetic properties of skin and cell continually leap and change and even reverse themselves. The physical matter that composed your body a moment ago is different in important ways from the matter that forms your body in this instant. If you perceive the constant change within your body with as much persistence as you attend its seemingly permanent nature, then you would be amazed that you ever considered the body as one more or less constant, more or less cohesive entity. Even subjectively, you focus upon and indeed manufacture the idea of a relatively stable, relatively permanent, conscious self. You stress those ideas and thoughts and attitudes that you recall from the past experience as your own, completely ignoring those that once were characteristic and are now banished. Ignoring the fact also that you cannot hold thought, The thought of a moment before, in your terms, vanishes away. You try to maintain a constant, relatively permanent physical and subjective self in order to maintain a relatively constant, relatively permanent environment. So you are always in a position of ignoring such change. Those that you refuse to acknowledge are precisely those that would give you a much better understanding of the true nature of reality, individual subjectivity, and the physical environment that seems to surround you. What happens to a thought when it leaves your conscious mind? It does not simply disappear. You can learn to follow it, but you are usually frightened of turning your attention away from its intense focus in three-dimensional existence. Therefore, it seems that the thought disappears. It seems also that your subjectivity has a mysterious unknown quality about it, and that your mental life has a sort of insidious dropping point, a subjective cliff, over which thoughts and memories fall to disappear into nothingness. Therefore, to protect yourself, to protect your subjectivity from drifting, you erect various psychological barriers at what you suppose to be the danger points. Instead, you see, you can follow these thoughts and emotions simply by realizing that your own reality continues in another direction, beside the one with which you mainly identify. For these thoughts and emotions that have left your conscious mind will lead you into other environments. These subjective openings through which thoughts seem to disappear are in fact like psychic warps, connecting the self that you know with other universes of experience, realities where symbols come to life and thoughts are not denied their potential. There's communication between those other realities and your own in dream states, and a constant interaction between both systems. If there is any point where your own consciousness seems to elude or escape you, or if there is any point where your consciousness seems to end, then these are the points where you have yourselves set up psychological and psychic barriers, and these are precisely those areas that you should explore. Otherwise, you feel as if your consciousness is enclosed within your skull, immobile and constricted, and every lost thought or forgotten memory, at least symbolically, seems like a small death. And such is not the case. This is the end of Chapter 3 of Seth Speaks, The Eternal Validity of the Soul. Let's talk about it. This absolutely captivating, in my opinion, exploration delves into the interconnectedness of consciousness and the fabric of reality. Seth teaches us that like a cooperative endeavor involving the ingredients of a chair, a stone, a head of lettuce, a bird, all forms emerge from consciousness. By understanding this underlying truth, we gain the ability to shape our environments and physical form, free from the illusion of permanence. Seth highlights the constant change within our bodies, both physically and subjectively, while encouraging us to embrace the concept of fluidity. Seth suggests that forgotten thoughts and memories are not lost, but are bridges to alternate experiences. Seth wants us to know by exploring these psychic warps, we can unlock new dimensions of understanding, transforming our perception of self and the universe. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like, sharing it with a friend, and of course, subscribing for more. What did you think about this passage? What did you think about the entire chapter? Let me know in the comments below. Until the next time, thank you for listening. Oh, also, if you enjoy meditation, check out my other YouTube channel entitled Enter the Woods. Once again, thank you.